Hi, I'm Florida foreclosure defense lawyer Michael Wasylik. I'm here today in Stuart, Florida, and I'm outside the Martin County Judicial Center. I was supposed to have a trial today. We ended up agreeing to reschedule it, and so I have a couple minutes, and I wanted to take this time to answer one of the questions we got after we sent out our January newsletter. Somebody wrote in and had a pretty good question, so I wanted to take a minute and go ahead and address that. A gentleman by the name of William sent in the question. He asks, if there is a mistake in a foreclosure suit, for example, failing to properly serve a defendant, then since the court did not have jurisdiction, would the defendant not be affected by the suit? Well, William, you're exactly right. If a mistake in a foreclosure suit results in a defendant not being served so that the court doesn't have jurisdiction over that defendant, then yes, the defendant's right to the property would not be affected by the suit at all. And actually, I've seen that fact pattern more than once. I've had clients come to me after judgments have been entered, after the sale has happened. And they said to me, Mike, I never knew about this foreclosure lawsuit. I never got served. Nobody ever told me about it. And in some of those occasions, we've been successful going in, challenging service of process, and convincing the court that not only should the foreclosure judgment be vacated, but the sale should be vacated, and the defendant restored to possession of the home. Now, we've had cases where that's happened even after someone else has bought the home and moved in. And, you know, that, by the way, is one very important reason why you want to be extremely careful buying a foreclosure property, because you don't know, unless you really check, whether that underlying foreclosure suit was valid and the judgment resulting in it was valid or void. And if it was void, then if you bought something from it, you may have bought nothing at all. So in the case that William talks about, where a defendant didn't know about the lawsuit at all, was never served with process, the court never had jurisdiction, the court lacks the power to foreclose. It lacks the power to affect that particular defendant's rights as to that property. Now, if that was a defendant who owned the home, then even if there's been a judgment and a sale, then that defendant still owns the home, or at least does once you get the court to recognize that there's been an error. And if anyone else is there, they might actually have valid grounds to sue either the bank or to sue the current occupants to retain possession of the home and for rents and profits for the time in which, so for example, let's say somebody who's living there for 6 months, you might be able to sue them not only to give the home back to you, but also for that 6-month worth of rent that they've been living in the home that you still own. So it's very important to know that if you've been sued for foreclosure, and if you think there's an issue with the sufficiency of the service of process, if you think you were never properly served and you haven't waived that right, if you appear in the court action, then you usually waive any service objections. But if you haven't waived a service objection and a foreclosure judgment has been entered without your participation, without your knowledge, you may still own that home, you may still have a legal right to that home, and you may have rights to sue the people involved who took the home away from you without giving you fair notice, without giving you due process. So if you have a question about that, if you think you've got a service of process issue, and William, thank you, by the way, for that question, but if you've got a service of process issue, if you had a foreclosure suit that you didn't know about, or you think there's some other defect in the service process and you never waived that right, you didn't participate in the process at all, then I want you to give me a call. My number is 352-567-3173. I'm Florida foreclosure defense lawyer Michael Wasylik. Please give me a call. Again, that number is 352-567-3173. Thank you.